This is a story about Ellen Andrews and her daughter Margaret. Ellen is a widow who fell while out shopping. She broke her hip and the wrist on her right hand and badly wrenched her shoulder. When Ellen was released from the hospital, she was unable to go back to her own home and so has been taken several hundred kilometers from her hometown to live with her daughter Margaret and Margaret's husband Jim. No one is very happy about the situation.
Margaret, before you go, would you please get me my things?
Mother, when will you stop going on about your things? You're making me late for work.
Oh, well, I know you're busy, but, you know, I must have a bath or a good wash. I can't go on like this, and I need my clothes.
I'm doing my best, Mum. No, it's not easy looking after you on top of keeping Jim happy.
Well, you shouldn't have to do it much longer. I managed very well on my own after your dad died, and there's absolutely no reason why I can't look after myself. You know, if I had my purse and my checkbook, I could arrange to see a doctor and get a walker.
And you can't go by yourself. So you're just going to have to wait until Jim and I have time to take you. You know we're very busy, and now you're making more work for us. Just try to be a little patient. Jim and I don't always have time to be fussing over you.
Well, I didn't ask to be here. It was all your idea to sell my house and everything I owned. I want to be looking after myself, not here with you.
Right. Like the hospital was going to let you go back to your house when you can't do anything for yourself. Where else could you go? I thought about building a ramp to the house, Mum. But the hill was just too steep. We couldn't let it sit empty. It was better to sell it. Here's your sandwich.
Oh, no. Not peanut butter again.
Well, I don't do cucumber sandwiches and cream teas. You know, it's what you used to give me. If it was good enough for me, it should be good enough for you. Look, I might be home late tonight. Jim and I have some business to do. So here are a few crackers to tide you over, and here's the phone. Don't be making any long-distance calls. Jim won't put up with that. It's just for emergencies. Call 911. Mom? Do you have anything to read? Can you reach the remote for the TV?
Margaret, is there any mail for me? I never heard from any of my friends. Oh, Sam, can you believe what's happened to me? How could I end up like this? I'm so miserable. Oh, Sam, how you're all wet too. You look as if you've been crying. Well, you would cry if you knew what Margaret has done. Of course, there's Jim in it too. I know you never liked him wanting to know all our business. You know, I never knew the house was sold until I was ready to leave the hospital. How could she do that to me? And get rid of everything, all the things that we worked hard for and treasured. It just breaks my heart. I don't know where my pension money is. I keep asking, and Margaret says I'm complaining, and if I keep it up, I'll be put in an institution. I know Jim doesn't like my being here. He never talks to me anyway. And when he's home, I have to stay in the bedroom. I can't go to an institution. I wouldn't be able to do anything for myself. You know, people just shrivel up and die in those places. Oh, my dear Sam, whatever am I gonna do? Hello?
Hello, may I speak with Margaret Betts, please?
Oh, Margaret isn't home right now. Would you like to leave a message? This is her mother.
Hello, Miss Andrews. I am so pleased that now you are able to take calls. And, I forget myself. This is Kareem Ahmed from the bank.
Who is it?
Kareem Ahmed from the bank. I'm calling about your account.
Well, now, you know, you've got my pension checks. They come in every month, and I haven't had any money since I went into hospital.
Mrs. Andrews.
But I need that money to go home, so you'll have to send me some.
Mrs. Andrews, I'm sure that Mrs. Betts will provide you with the money if you ask her for. But the reason I'm calling indeed is about your savings account. Since there is no funds left in this account.
Well, what happened to my pension checks then?
Well, I think your pension checks are still going in your checking account. But the account that I'm talking about is your savings account.
Savings account? What are you talking about? I never had a savings account.
Mrs. Betts opened a savings account in your name and deposited a check made out in your name in the amount of $300,000. This was the money from the sale of your house.
$300,000? I didn't know that.
Now that there are no funds in this account, I'm calling to see if you and Mrs. Betts want me to close this account.
Wait a minute.
When do you think your daughter will be home?
No funds left? What do you mean? What happened to the $300,000? That's my money.
3 days ago, Mrs. Betts withdrew the whole amount by certified check made out to a real estate company on Vancouver Island.
What on earth did she do that for? How could she do that?
But Mrs. Andrews, do you remember that you gave a power of attorney to Mrs. Betts to manage your affairs just after your husband died? Have you been looking at the bank statements? We have been mailing them to your daughter's address.
I'm telling you, if I had my pension checks, I'd be on the next bus home.
Well, you're going to feel a lot better about things after moving to your new house. Mrs. Betts told me that this is right on the golf course.
What new house? I don't know anything about a new house. What are you talking about?
Mrs. Andrews, you should talk to your daughter. Please tell her I called. Oh my goodness, she sounds very confused.
I've got to sort this lot out. I don't know what's going on. I just can't believe it.
I was halfway to work when I realized I'd forgotten my wallet.
Oh,
Who were you talking to?
there was a man from the bank, and he told me that my house sold for $300,000, and you've taken that money out of my account. And I want it back. That's my money.
I'm looking after everything. It's not as if you understand anything about managing money or business matters. Anyway, Dad worked for it. It was his money, not yours.
Margaret, that was our money. And when your dad died, it was my money.
Mom, you've been out of it. You can't even sign anything with that broken wrist.
Oh, somehow you expect me to open packets of crackers for my supper?
Look, I've moved the money to hide it. I've acted in your best interest. You don't realize how you could lose your guaranteed income supplement and have to pay income tax, and probably a lot more for your care and medical supplies. That'd be really stupid, wouldn't it, to let the government grab a big chunk of what Daddy worked so hard for?
You didn't tell me that you got $300,000 for my house, and that's my money, and I want it back in my account.
Mom, I'm looking after everything, and that costs money. Jim is retiring soon, and we want to move to Victoria. So we've just borrowed the money until we get the new house built. When it's ready, we'll sell this place and move. And then if you want the money back in your account, you can have it. And you can let the government take the whole thing if that's what you want.
And while we're on the subject, what happened to all the money from selling the furniture in the garage sale? What happened to that?
That money went to pay for the lawyer's fees, for transferring the property and other expenses. What did you expect me to do? The hospital said you couldn't go home again. I'm doing the best I can. I don't know how you can complain. It's not like you know how to manage anything. Jim knows how to look after these things.
Margaret, give me my money back. I want to go home.
Mother, try to understand. The house has been sold. You can't go home.
Well, I can find another place to live. I don't want to stay here and be treated like this. You and Jim will want all my money. You want to kill me. Well, I'm telling you, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die in my own home.
Will you just listen? It's not your money. Dad always said he was saving that money for me. It's my money.
Yeah, well, I call that stealing.
I'm giving you a home and looking after you. And you call me a thief? You keep talking about going home. I'll make sure you go to a home and never come out again.
It is now time for the people watching the scene between Ellen and Margaret to ask themselves a few questions. How do you feel about what's happening here? Could the situation have been prevented? Do you think Kareem, when he called from the bank, should have suspected something was not right? Should he have asked Ellen some questions? Or did he assume she was confused and perhaps not capable of managing her own affairs? Can anyone do anything to help? Ellen continued to live with Margaret and Jim until their new house was almost completed. Several months have now passed. At this point, Ellen was clearly failing and retreated further into herself. Margaret contacted the local health authority and asked for an assessment for facility care for Ellen. The nurse doing the assessment found Ellen to be dehydrated, malnourished, unable to walk without assistance, exhibiting signs of depression and confusion, and in urgent need of medical attention.
Hi, Jackie. Come on in. Just sit here. You know, she has to take some responsibility for her own situation. She won't eat the food I leave for her. She won't go to the clinic. She keeps saying, I want to go home and see my own doctor. I mean, look at her. My mother won't do anything to help herself. And I don't know how to look after her anymore. I'm so stressed. That's why I called you. I just want her to be in a good place where she can get the care that she needs.
Ellen is taken to see a doctor who immediately admits her to the emergency ward of the hospital. When Ellen is medically stable, she's moved to a residential facility. Once Ellen gets the care she needs, she begins to feel much better physically. However, she is still depressed and cries frequently. Ellen has been in the facility for 6 weeks before Margaret comes for her first visit.
Mother? Oh, there you are.
Oh, Margaret, where have you been? The people here have been asking about my pension checks. I need some money to do my hair and buy some clothes. Look at me. I'm a lot stronger now. If you give me my money back, I could go home.
Mother, I knew the first thing you'd say to me would be about money. I give up. I brought some papers for you to sign, and then the money will be back in your old bank account.
Oh, where?
Hello, Mrs. Andrews. Hello, are you Margaret, Mrs. Andrews' daughter?
Yes.
I'm Jenny Lorimer. I'm the director of care.
Yes. How do you do?
It's so nice to meet you. Someone told me that you were visiting, and we've been trying to get a hold of you. You're very difficult to get a hold of. Maybe we could have a chat later. There's some things that we need to talk about.
Oh, look, everything's all right now. Margaret's here, and she's going to give me my money back. Look.
Mother, let's not make a big fuss about this.
Mrs. Andrews, this looks like the transfer of ownership for a car. Is your daughter buying your car?
What? Sam's old vintage Buick. Margaret, what are you doing to me?
It's not like you're going to be driving anymore, Mother.
Oh,
Don't pay any attention to her. She's always complaining or out of control, shouting and yelling. She's delusional. Look at her. She talks to my father's photograph. You know, the lawyer told us that we should have her declared incompetent.
Your mother is getting better, but she was very unwell when she came to us, and she's under a lot of
Never mind.
stress. Margaret, we need to talk about this.
oh, Sam, I can't live like this any longer. I'm just going to die here and all alone. Oh.
Mrs. Andrews, would you like to talk about what's been going on here? I saw on your chart that you had numerous shoulder bruises when you went to the emergency department. Has somebody been rough with you?
I don't really know how it all happened. I suppose I should have stood up for myself and refused to go home to Margaret, but nobody asked me. They all decided, and now look at me. Not a penny to my name, and you know, my friends, they've all just disappeared. I'll never, ever forgive Margaret. I'm so ashamed. I can't believe my daughter would do this to me. She makes me feel like a failure. She even called me crazy talking to Sam's picture. You know, every night since Sam died, I've said goodnight to him. Of course, I don't expect him to answer me. I'm not crazy. You see, she intimidates me. And when she talks like that and shakes me, I feel so helpless. Can you imagine being afraid of your own child? I wasn't allowed to make my own decisions. Then nobody asked me. I wanted to go home, look after myself, but no, nobody listened to me. I still want to go home. But there's no way now. There's just nothing left.
You know, Mrs. Andrews, that I know some people that might be able to help. Would you like me to contact them for you?
What people? Who are these people? They just think what a fool I am, and they'll think I've been a really bad mother.
Unfortunately, Mrs. Andrews, you're not the first person that this has ever happened to. I know someone who's heard this story many times before, and she might be able to help you to make a decision on what you'd like to do with it. You also may want to get a hold of your friends and members of the church. I'm sure they're wondering what's happened to you. We should let them know at least where you are. What do you think? What should we do first? Would you like a cup of coffee or a glass of juice, and maybe we can talk about it?
I think I would fancy a cup of tea.
What do you think? Is there a future for Ellen? Can you come up with a good ending to this story? Who needs to be involved to make it happen? And do you think any crimes happened in this story? Should someone call the police?